the Angel Clark Show this week. We will return next Wednesday. Until that time, remember, no army can stop an idea this time is coming.
Free Talk Live.
The amount of young people being brought up on criminal charges, sex offender charges, for taking nude photos of themselves and putting them online. It's just so sad to see these people having their lives just rolled right over the top of by these prosecutors that want to make it look like they're doing something good, but they're not doing anything that's helping anyone. There's no victim in this case. When you hear the term child pornography, what should come to mind, if anything, should be the idea of forcing children into sexual scenes and videotaping or photographing
adults
them.
Forcing children or somebody...
Even if it's a child forcing another child, I think the force is the issue there. If you're talking about a 15-year-old girl voluntarily choosing to take a nude photo of herself to send to her boyfriend or to post online, no one forced her to do that.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT NoGov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
The Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. Silver is trading at $15.61 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,232 per ounce. Zencash is trading at $29, and the average price of Bitcoin is $8,217. Antiwar.com reports U.S. media coverage suggests hostility towards diplomatic engagement with Russia as a matter of course. A new Harris X poll, however, suggests that this is not the view of the majority of the American public, with 54% approving of President Trump inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House for a second summit. The first summit, held earlier this month in Helsinki, Finland, was seemingly successful despite it being followed by negative media coverage and attacks from lawmakers in both parties. Trump followed this by inviting Putin for a second summit, this time in the United States. American public support for such a summit does not extend to Congress, however. On Tuesday, congressional leadership announced that if Putin does come to the White House, he will not be invited to address Congress or visit the Capitol building. House Speaker Paul Ryan says addressing Congress is something we reserve for allies. Ryan added he was only okay with Trump and Putin meeting so long as the message is stop violating our sovereignty. Congress focuses heavily on allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, and there is bipartisan consensus, despite a lack of evidence to that effect, that Putin was behind all of it personally. Protracted vilification of Putin would make a visit to Congress to deliver a speech a difficult matter at any rate. Explicitly saying he is not invited to do so, however, is clearly intended to be a blow to diplomacy. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap and Amazon, at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. UPI reports New Jersey Attorney General Gerber Gruelle announced Tuesday that he has asked prosecutors to adjourn all cannabis cases in municipal courts until at least September 4th. In a letter to prosecutors, the Attorney General said he is asking for the adjournment so his office can develop appropriate guidance on how to handle cannabis cases as state lawmakers decide whether to allow for recreational use of cannabis. The request came after a meeting with Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop, who supports full legalization of marijuana. Fulop said this is a huge win for Jersey City, the state of New Jersey, and most importantly, the people who have been impacted by the creation of a criminal record due to a simple marijuana arrest. Gruelle's move unofficially decriminalizes marijuana for the time being, but New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy said on Monday that full legalization is a better avenue for the state. Murphy told reporters, "On the surface, decriminalization is intoxicating. You think it's a step in the right direction, but it actually leaves the business in the hands of the bad guys. Your kids are exposed, it's not regulated, it's not taxed, so I'll leave the specifics of that to the Attorney General, but that's a conceptual answer." Sharon LeChair, spokeswoman for the Attorney General's office, pointed out that the letter does not instruct police to stop making marijuana arrests. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports a federal judge on Tuesday said the U.S. government appeared on track to reunite by Thursday's deadline most of the families separated at the U.S.-Mexico border as part of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy towards undocumented immigration. The judge, however, put off deciding on a petition by civil rights groups to postpone deporting any of the parents for 7 days after they get their children back. A temporary order currently bars deportations of the families until the matter is resolved. U.S. District Judge Dana Sabraw, who last month gave federal immigration officials until July 26 to return 2,500 children to their parents, commended them on Tuesday for the remarkable achievement of having largely accomplished that task. As of Monday, at least 879 parents had been reunited with their children, according to a joint court filing by the federal government and the American Civil Liberties Union. Another 463 parents were no longer in the United States, but their children were still here, and it was unclear when those families would be reunited. The federal government cannot say whether those parents were deported or left voluntarily. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
We've made significant progress wiring the nation's schools for the internet, but we have to do more. Every child in America should have an internet-capable computer in their bedroom at home, preferably with a high-resolution webcam. I have been to children's chat rooms and have been shocked and disappointed to find they are frequently empty. Even when these youngsters do manage to find their way online, they lack the skills to do something as simple as pinpoint their location on Google Maps. I long for the day when someone can log onto the Nickelodeon Under 13 chat room and type, "Hey, any kids in here like to play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon? I have a Nintendo at my house," and be overwhelmed with instant messages. Then I'll know we're doing our job supporting technology in this country.
This is the Onion News Network.
The Call to Freedom is an opinion show. It's meant for informational purposes only. It is not licensed financial advice. It is very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you hear from the Call of Freedom and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. I mean, come on, guys. Duh. It's a cryptocurrency investment and a political talk radio. Of course, it's opinions.
Computers are online. I'm gonna start loading software.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Call to Freedom.
Broadcasting live from Vertcoin Studios on LRN FM.
You're listening to Will.
You will listen to every damn word I have to say.
And Aria.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Stay tuned for political talk and everything crypto. That's right.
Broadcasting internationally on our Bit Plus Network satellite.
This is
The Call to Freedom.
All right, let's boot it up.
That's right. Welcome here to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. Broadcasting live from our Zencash studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. And it is another beautiful day in the Shire. So I'm joined in the studio today by Miss Aria DiMezzo, the queen of crypto herself from cryptocurrencycheck.org. And I don't think we got anybody out there in the multiverse coming in live via remote today. Tom's usually off on Wednesday, and there's just no more Chelsea. So what's that mean?
It's unfortunate.
That means it's me and Aria. Now, we are looking into hiring some new folks. So let's see here. Who was it? Kobe, elected New Hampshire elected representative, libertarian representative Kobe. No, it's not. It's something. I can't remember right now. My brain's not working because I'm focused on something else. Anyway, so because we're gonna have a pretty interesting show today, hopefully. So we got a guest coming in to the studio in the third hour. Quite a serendipitous qadr. All those, the destiny, fate. It was kind of interesting. We were sending out messages last night for authors, and there was a book that I saw, and I was like, "Wow, this looks really interesting. I'd really like to get this author on." And I sent message. I couldn't find that particular author on Twitter at all to send a message to, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna have to wait, and we'll find we'll message the publishing house." Why won't my mouth and my brain work together today for some reason? We'll message the publishing house. Yes, actually. We'll message the publishing house. And what happens? I go out to lunch today to meet a Muslim guy. He's from Jaffrey, New Hampshire, just about a half hour away from here. He lives in Qatar now. He wanted to meet the new local imam and the masjid and everything. And we go out to lunch at Local Burger, and we're having a talk. And somehow in the conversation, I bring up the book, and he's like, "I wrote that book." And I was like, "You wait, what?" So I was like, "Well, if that's the case, while you're in town, you want to come on the radio?" So he will be here around 6 p.m. So, speaking of which, I've got to send him the address here to the studio so that he doesn't go to the wrong place. But his name is Zachary Wright, and we can't wait to have him on the show. The book that he wrote is called Jihad of the Pen, West African Sufism and Literature and Poetry. So it's going to be West African, and it's going to be like 18th to 20th century. So specifically focusing on West Africa from the 18th to the 20th century on Sufism and poetry.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but before we get to that,
hearing about it.
Before we get to that, we wanted to have I love this guy. This lecture was given at Cambridge University, and it's one of my favorite scholars. His name is Timothy Winter. He now goes by Abdul Hakim Murad. He is the head of the Islamic Studies Department of Cambridge University.
On a related note, why do some people change their names to an Arabic one and some don't?
Because there's no reason that you have to.
Okay.
But some people do. Some people find it easier to deal with in the community. You get better credibility from the immigrant community. Some people have a name that has a bad meaning, or they're named after like Christopher. That would be considered like a pagan name.
Okay.
So they would change his name to maybe Isa, because Christopher is is a name about being a worshiper of Christ. Instead, name him Isa, which was the Arabic name for Jesus, or something like that. I didn't change my name. My name is Will, and I'm still Will. My in-laws call me Ayub. because when my boss was like, no, you have to, and I didn't know any better yet, I was like, okay, I think it's the name for Job. Okay. And at the time, I felt it kind of fitting because of what had literally happened in my life right before I became Muslim. I had like lost everything before, then I became Muslim and I lost everything again, like down to like walking down the street with a shoplifted backpack full of beer. Like that's the best thing about my day is, and it's raining and it's February and this is my life. A car, don't have one of those anymore. House, yeah, I had one of those till yesterday. Job, yeah, I had one of those till yesterday too. Relationship, I had one of those till yesterday too. One of those kind of weeks. Yeah. Right. So, and I had that happen twice. Anyway, we don't have much time, so I want to go ahead and get in because this video is quite long, and I want to have the opportunity to discuss it. So this is Star Wars and the Crisis of Modern Masculinity. Okay.
So this brings us to another contemporary argument, which is the so-called crisis of manhood. And you'll see this referred to again and again in the blogosphere, in the pages of significant magazines, and quite recently the Atlantic Monthly ran a piece called All the Single Mothers, lamenting the decline of marriageable males who are able to be in a sustainable relationship with modern women. So this idea of the disappearing father has become something that, despite these kind of rather vehement second-wave feminism that prevails amongst the chattering classes and in the political elites in the modern Western world, has become one way in which a crisis has emerged, and people are starting to ask about the extent to which the human species can move away from its historical norms in directions of sort of often morally driven social engineering without actually breaking down in some fundamental way. So the crisis of manhood is behind, in many ways, the crisis of the modern family. So 1 in 3 children in the United States now is fatherless, is brought up without a father. And many people will say this is not a problem, but in fact 75% of high school dropouts actually are from fatherless backgrounds. If you're brought up without a father, you are twice as likely, almost twice as likely to get into addiction or into criminal behavior than if you've been brought up in a traditional two-parent family. We now find that even though only 35% of teenagers are in single-parent situations, 67% of youth suicides in the Western world are amongst people who have not had a father figure in their lives, whether they be male or female suicides. 9/10 of suicides are actually male, but it affects the girls as well. So there's a growing awareness that something is not quite right and that there is an absence. And this idea in the Atlantic Monthly that there just aren't enough marriageable men is something one even hears about in the Muslim community. It seems.
All right, when we get back here on the Call to Freedom, we'll continue on with discussion of Star Wars and the crisis of modern masculinity here on the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
Who told you can go this way? You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video or audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today. You
ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.fm. Unasikiliza wito wa uhuru katika LRN.fm.
All right, welcome back into the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. Broadcasting live from our Zencast studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. It is another beautiful day in the Shire, and we're having a discussion, as you hear from the music, of Star Wars, but a little bit different. This is Star Wars and what's being lamented among the ladies on the left as a lack of a crisis of masculinity. You mean that after generations and generations of punishing little boys for being boys, that we're having an issue with masculinity in our society? No, you don't say. Well, we've got here a well-known scholar. He goes by Abdul Hakim Murad. His name is Timothy Winter, and we have a lecture that he gave at Cambridge University's Islamic Studies Department, and we were playing this lecture for you in order to have a discussion about this topic of, as he calls it, Star Wars and the crisis of modern masculinity. Now, if you want to get involved in this conversation, you're welcome to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that number is 603-283-6160, and we're going to get right back into the conversation.
There'll be plenty of girls who are up for marriage and are looking for men who can be breadwinners and reasonable partners, but somehow there seems to be a shortage. So this is one of the deep imbalances that the modern world has found itself in. And one manifestation of this might be the way in which the mass media has changed in order to reflect what society now takes to be its official truths, its social beliefs. Just to take a topical example, the new Star Wars film, The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, you have to think about the theological implications of that, but it's called The Force Awakens, and the story is extraordinarily derivative of the story of the first Star Wars film, down to every small detail. It's a very strange thing to do if you're making what you hope will be a blockbuster. There really isn't an originality in the plot except for the question of gender. What has changed over the last 35 years or so? What has changed has been the collapse of the traditional idea of the male hero and the rise of the idea of the autonomous woman who is really beyond reproach. So what we find is that really the key character now is not Luke Skywalker, who's he's sort of sulking out of the edge of the galaxy somewhere. He's not really being a hero and trying to deal with the evil empire. He's kind of licking his wounds and being a bit of a loser. Instead, the one who is central to the story is, of course, a female, and a very young female. And by some amazing post-initiatic capacity, she is able, even though she's living on some dump of a desert planet, she is able suddenly to fly starships better than Harrison Ford ever could. She's able to fight with robots, and she can use lightsabers, and she's a kind of amazing super warrior, even though she's just a little girl. And her name is Rey. Now, Rey, is just about everybody knows, actually means king. So she has a name of a kind of patriarch, the traditional symbol of male sacred and secular authority, which is the king. She now gets that name, and these things, of course, are very carefully chosen. Now, the original Star Wars myth was based on Lucas's discipleship of Joseph Campbell and his famous groundbreaking book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is all about steps of initiation, essentially from boyhood and childhood into manhood. The monomyth, the characteristic idea of the male that overcomes himself, that is able to deal with the female principle in its positive and negative dimensions and grows into a kind of role of sacred warriorhood. And that's present in all of the Chinese, the Indian, the Islamic, universal legend, as he saw it, of humanity. And he used this essentially sacred story with its sort of quasi, slightly hippie-ish dimension of the Force be with you as a way of retelling for modern cinema audiences a really ancient story that everybody can relate to. There are some very ancient archetypes there. Now that's no longer acceptable, because the idea of initiation has been absent in our society for a long time. Some people will say it's the Reformation that did away with it. Others will say the Enlightenment. But the idea of the teenage adolescent being taken out into the rainforest by other males of the tribe and initiated into mysteries or passing through ordeals of various kinds and being initiated into maleness, which would mean a sacred initiation, also an initiation into warriorhood and being a hunter. Something very primordial, as Campbell saw it in the human experience, has been abolished as unacceptable and as forgotten. So we don't really have ideas of initiation in our culture, and we certainly don't have ideas of male initiation. So instead what we have is kind of eternal childhood or eternal temper tantrums amongst the male, which is essentially what you see in the male, really all negative archetypes in The Force Awakens. So the male is either still the kind of dark father figure who is the kind of evil, pharaonic tyrant, subverter of the universe, or he's kind of the wimp who doubts himself, like the Starship Trooper Finn, I think his name is, who kind of doesn't really want to be a cool, macho stormtrooper any longer. He's having issues with himself and he wants to talk about it, probably is a bit tearful. And that's another image of the modern male, which is gratifying to a certain type of roulette, sort of feminism. The man that actually is kind of touchy-feely, breaks down and isn't confident in his own role and his own masculinity. But there is nowhere in sight really a positive image of successful, initiated, sacred warriorhood. And it's hardly surprising that Lucas himself doesn't really like this new film and is probably sorry that he sold the franchise. But this guy, Jeffrey Abrams, with, I think it's Kinberg, who also helped with the script, they're from a different world. They're not from the Campbell world, they're from a different universe. And of course they want to give the public what the public thinks in terms of the only unassailable public certainty, which is the idea of the power, the warrior power, the initiative power of the female, and the implicit uselessness of the male. Where does this leave young men who still have the physiology of their ancestors and are looking, craving for forms of initiation and want a definition of gender? What is it to be growing into manhood? Is it just adolescence and physical changes and awkward hormones and not smelling too good? Or is there some significance to this? Secular world will say, well, you have to determine your own identity. Everything is in flux. You might even figure out that you want to determine your own sexuality at some point. You might decide on that. Or you might decide that you're in the wrong gender and you might have a sex change. And more people are having gender reassignment surgery. Nobody any longer belongs unambiguously to a particular set of coordinates.
All right, when we get back here with the Call of Freedom, we'll finally get into the opportunity to discuss the positions and points posited by Murad here. We've got about just a few minutes left of the video, and then we'll get an opportunity to actually get into the real meat of what's being said when we get.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to SaveItPurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. SaveItPurse.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom live on LRN.FM. تستمعون إلى نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
Young people are given very few landmarks, very little support. They're not really told what it is to be male any longer. They're not really told what it is to belong to a particular city or country or social class. Everything is in flux and negotiable. And as a result, a lot of people are breaking down, not just the absentee fathers, which are a catastrophe in the Western family, and the problem is getting worse, but also a lot of women who are experiencing problems with cutting, with dieting disorders, with anxiety, with depression. The species is really malfunctioning. So we need to think about ways in which the Sunnah might give us back something about gender. And I think one reason why people come into Islam is that it does actually give you not an absolute long checklist of exactly how you have to be if you're male or female, but it does give you a genuine sense of what is masculine and what is feminine. لَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. The male is not like the female. And these modern confusions that seek to turn us all into sort of equal consumers, really, because the more human differentiations there are, the harder it is for the advertising people to appeal to everybody. To melt us down into a single module of humanity that then has to make massive choices about identity, self, and meaning is something that Sunnah exists as probably the world's most successful and credible alternative to. The Sunnah does tell you what to do with your body and your spiritual life if you're specifically male or if you're specifically female. It does give you adab and forms of boundary protection for the all-important relationship between the genders, confusion about which causes so many issues with relationships in the modern world. It does give you a sense that male and female are not just random genetic outcomes, but actually have a deep significance. And that while we've never spoken in our heritage of an inner hierarchy, of one being superior to the other, we've always known that they were very different. And this is part of the strength of Islam, and one reason why it's so important for us to adhere to the Sunnah and not to attempt various forms of radical reconfiguration to try and bring Islam and its often detested gender beliefs interline with the current social beliefs of the modern world. We resist that. And those who are desperately trying to find sort of second wave feminism in the pages of the Quran and the Hadith, they'll be disappointed sooner or later, because it's simply not there. And we are proud of our identity, just as others despise us for having it. And we note how a certain type of roulette feminism has actually mutated into an imperial rhetoric or discourse now, facilitating the bombing of Afghanistan and other Muslim countries. Because Muslims are so wicked to their women, therefore we can send the smart bombs and the drones and everything else. It's become, although feminism didn't set out to be that, increasingly it seems to become an ideology, a discourse of Western world domination. Because if the feminists are right, then the Westerner, white man, white woman, is right in categorically despising every other culture. Not just the Muslims, but the traditional Chinese, Hindus, New Guineans, native Australians, everybody else. It is the perfect weapon for empire builders. So we need to be aware of this. But we need to be aware also of the dangers of retreating into an over-reified and foolish extremism in gender modalities, which is reactive and not based on correct usul. If we look to the Quran and the Hadith for their models of gender essence and gender interaction, we will find the answers to these massive confusions that we are now seeing even on the silver screen and in the souls of so many puzzled and unhappy teenagers around the world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
All right, so there you have it. We had that was Timothy Winter or Abdul Hakim Murad at the Muslim Academic Trust at Cambridge. They're building a mosque inside Cambridge University, the Cambridge New Mosque Project.
Interesting.
So, but all right, Ari, I see you scribbling away over there. You write smaller than any human being I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, no. That's why I prefer like 0.5.
Yeah.
But this
so
is actually
tiny.
0.7, so it's forced me to write larger than I would care to. But I think the most important thing to recognize about the sexes, or the genders, whatever word you would like, and I guess I'm starting in reverse order versus how he took things, is that they're equal but not congruent. Now, when I was in high school, that totally was something beyond my understanding, because we had terrible teachers and they never explained that equal would be like 3 plus 2 equals 3 plus 2. No, that would be congruent. Sorry. See? But equal but not congruent would be 3 plus 2 equals 4 plus 1. Sure, they're equal, but they're not congruent. They're not identical. And that's how these sexes are. From just about any perspective. And they're not supposed to be congruent.
No.
And the left...
Don't say that at the Women's March.
No, the progressives seem to have confused the two. They seem to think that in order to be equal, they must be identical, which means washing away all characteristics of masculinity. But, I mean, as he points out, not femininity. And that's how they seek to make these sexes congruent rather than equal.
Well, yeah. Well, not only that, teachers are, by and large, female. So you have a state apparatus that demands, obedience to the whims of mostly a female group. And there are certain behaviors that women value. And those behaviors in our schools are rewarded. And the types of behaviors boys like to do, by the way,
I would say those behaviors are actively punished. Because I think, I mean, he pointed out that, confidence and masculinity is what women are attracted to, but I'm not sure that's true.
No, I'm saying
but
as
confidence
far as
in the
children
self is what women are attracted to. And schools heavily punish confidence in the self. They want you to doubt yourself and be insecure.
But in children, there are certain characteristics women prefer. And women will always tell you, girls are easier to raise than boys. Girls are easier to raise than boys. Until they hit the stage of emotion, And then the husbands are like, oh my God, I want to shoot myself. Well, boys, there's certain behaviors like fighting. Boys do this. Women hate that. Guns. Boys do this. Women hate that. Like to find a woman who likes guns is odd. At least in our culture today. Now, 100 years ago, if a boy acted masculine, that was something to be celebrated. But now it's all about these other, like, we want the boys to behave more like girls, because in this government sterilized setting, it's easier for us as female teachers to deal with this type of behavior. We can't handle aggression. We can't handle the boys do certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, just because it makes your job harder doesn't mean you should basically, and in some cases literally, criminalize normal behavior for young boys. You know, we're throwing 8-year-old kids for having fights in school in jail.
Yeah. I know.
What the hell is that? It's insanity is what it is.
But I mean, we're throwing kids in jail for any sort of infraction, whether it's fighting or just talking back.
Kicking kids out of school for biting a Pop-Tart into a gun. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Normal male types of behaviors being basically criminalized by a 90-something% female group of educators and professionals in this country. We'll be back in just a moment with the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Angel Clark, and you're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.fm.
All right, welcome back here to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are broadcasting live from the Zencastr studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. It's another beautiful day in the Shire, and we've been talking about Star Wars and the crisis of modern masculinity. Basically, a position put forth by Abdul Hakim Murad that Star Wars in its current form is kind of an analogous representative of what's happening to Western culture in general, where the man is some bumbling fool who can't really handle life, and the hero, the warrior's tale is by a woman whose name actually means king, who goes from a no one who doesn't know how to drive a car to flipping starships better than Han Solo.
Well, I mean, Luke was a really good pilot as well, and he had never actually piloted a legit starship. I mean, they retconned him later on to have done so in the novels and in the expanded universe, but in the initial, all he talked about was, flying more local craft. So, I mean, he technically had the skill set, but just because you can fly a crop duster doesn't mean you can fly a 747 or a space shuttle. And Anakin Skywalker had it even more severely. That annoying little crap climbed into a Naboo starfighter and blew up a starship.
Well, yeah, but he'd been
by
pod
accident.
Racing. He'd been pod racing though, so I mean, he did know how to pilot some pretty fast and loose machinery. He just the Naboo star, that was pretty funny.
But one of the things the guy said here was that men have lost their rites of initiation, and I was thinking, well, so have women, except they haven't, and it's why we see such young women having kids, because the carrying of a pregnancy to term has become a rite of passage. I mean, it's got all of the hallmarks. It's got hardship, pain, growth, and recognition from the community, and that's the key one. When they have these kids, they're surrounded by their parents and their family and their friends who are patting them on the back saying, look at you, you did it. You're there. You're an adult now.
Well, even if they're not patting them on the back and encouraging that behavior, there's still what's the word I'm looking for here? The community, that feeling that of support that they've craved. A lot of them, these are girls who are craving that support from their family. I have a daughter who had a baby young, and I begged her to let me give her that support, but I'm not her mother or her mother's family, so I just simply don't count, and my support is
that's what it's about. It's the older women coming and recognizing the accomplishment.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, well, you're officially a woman now.
Yeah.
And nothing like that whatsoever. I mean, you don't have dads coming down and saying, good job, son, your dudes swim.
Well, not only that, but like that whole thing of those fatherhood and son bonding experiences that used to exist, that you still see in some communities, particularly among the right here in the U.S. But you don't see that in other communities anymore. And when you do see it, there's a label of toxic masculinity put upon any kind of, like me and my sons, right? We box. It's fun. They're crazy. You can box, like box with them. Never hit them in the face or anything, but like body shots and stuff. And they'll laugh at you.
Yeah.
You've seen Hamza, my 4-year-old. He is like a little Rocky Balboa. He could literally run full blast into the wall face first, hit the ground, get back up, and just keep going. It's like he's made out of rubber.
But one thing I'm not sure about is that the loss of these, this duopoly of this dichotomy of rites of passages is actually a bad thing. Because it seems to be more likely that throughout most of human history, we've been attempting to shove round pegs into square holes or triangular holes. And that was the reason we ultimately abandoned the rites of passages, was that because they weren't genuinely applicable to everyone.
I don't think so.
And it instead forced a person into one role or the other, instead of allowing them to grow naturally into whatever role they were best at.
Just changed, that there was a generation that just didn't do them anymore, that there were other things. When we went from an agrarian society to a technological society, the rites of passage just stopped existing because there was no...
But why should they be required for humans when no other organism on the earth requires them?
I think it's a psychological thing. I really do. I think it's something that's kind of hardwired into us. The need... We are the only animal that I know that has a defined need for validation. We need to have our identity validated in some way. It's part of the reason many... agnostic argumentarians say that religion exists, is because of a necessity for the validation of human existence. Like, it can't just be for nothing. There has to be a reason. That validation being there has always, the desire for it has always been hardwired into human society. And what happened was...
That doesn't mean it's good for us to create it for ourselves, though, which is essentially what that is. Okay, we need to be validated, so we're going to create these rights that validate us.
But only Western culture has cast off those validations. They still exist in other cultures, but they don't exist here. And maybe our culture is the only thing that's having this massive upheaval of war against itself, where men hate women and women hate men. You don't have that in other cultures.
No, but I'm not sure it's the fault of losing the rites of passage or losing the duology that is gender or sex. I'm not sure what the cause is. I'm just not seeing.
I'm not seeing that being the only cause, but I think it is something that is representative of those changes that are happening in Western society. And that's the argument that he's making, is that Star Wars today, when compared to Star Wars 7 in 1970s, 30 years ago, you can see the evolution of the culture across 30 years just by...
Well, Joseph Campbell just released, not Joseph Campbell, someone just released a documentary about how we need a modern telling of the hero's journey, and we don't have one.
We do. It's told over and over again from the wrong perspective. Because
but that keeps it from qualifying as the hero's journey.
Exactly. Because the perspective of human society still, sorry feminists, is that the hero's journey is carried out by a male, and most often to save a woman. That's just the way that it goes. I'm sorry.
Well, not really. I mean, maybe in Western culture, but in Hindu culture and a lot of Asian cultures, it was more nuanced than that. And it was more about the person's own development and going into the darkness of themselves and ascending on the other side, having conquered their own inner demons, whatever those may have been.
Even so, the characters in most of those stories were male. The largest part of those stories, the characters were male. We can watch the movies. We've got them.
They're movies. I read. I don't watch movies.
Well, no. The different stories. The Indians have made cartoons and live action of all the different myths.
Yeah.
And in most of them, the male figure is the hero. The woman is
I'm
the
not saying that.
damsel in
I'm not saying we
distress.
need a story of women rescuing men by any means.
But that's what it's been. It's been,
and those
you
are
know,
counter to the archetypes of gender as we understand them.
Yeah, Ray is the hero. Like you said, female Ghostbusters. Basically, what's happened is feminism has decided, well, what we'll do to fix the problems with gender issues is we'll just take everything and flip it around backwards, and that'll just fix everything. We won't do anything new, like you said, nuanced and actually work on the problem. Just flip everything and run it in the opposite direction, and that'll make everything perfect.
I mean, that's what they do, and that's why we have anti-straight sentimentality throughout the United States now. I mean, let's just take whatever is here, and flip it around and push that onto everyone else. And when everything breaks, we'll be like, I don't know what happened.
It was the straight guy's. It's his fault. You know what? I hate cisgendered white males, but every once in a while I wake up with a big white Richard in my mouth. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. People that are like, I hate this person, but I'm still willing to throw what is considered regular morals out the window for them as well. You know, like I'll commit this act with them, but I hate their guts and I wish they would die. It's completely backwards. It's insane.
It's the Onion Radio News. Starbucks begins its sinister Phase 2 of operation. This is Doyle Redland reporting. After a decade of aggressive expansion throughout North America and abroad, Starbucks suddenly and unexpectedly closed its 56,423 worldwide locations today to prepare for what insiders call Phase 2 of the company's long-range plan. Cynthia Valcamp, Starbucks head of marketing, made this brief statement at a press conference earlier today.
We have enjoyed furnishing you with coffee-related beverages and are excited about the important role you play in our future plans.
Existing Starbucks franchises across the nation have been shuttered with high-strength titanium, and the well-known Starbucks logo has been slightly altered to present the familiar mermaid figure as a cyclopean mermaid whose all-seeing eye forms the apex of a world-spanning pyramid. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. Silver is trading at $15.61 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,232 per ounce. Zencash is trading at $29, and the average price of Bitcoin is $8,217. Antiwar.com reports U.S. media coverage suggests hostility towards diplomatic engagement with Russia as a matter of course. A new Harris X poll, however, suggests that this is not the view of the majority of the American public, with 54% approving of President Trump inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House for a second summit. The first summit, held earlier this month in Helsinki, Finland, was seemingly successful despite it being followed by negative media coverage and attacks from lawmakers in both parties. Trump followed this by inviting Putin for a second summit, this time in the United States. American public support for such a summit does not extend to Congress, however. On Tuesday, congressional leadership announced that if Putin does come to the White House, he will not be invited to address Congress or visit the Capitol building. House Speaker Paul Ryan says addressing Congress is something we reserve for allies. Ryan added he was only okay with Trump and Putin meeting so long as the message is stop violating our sovereignty. Congress focuses heavily on allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, and there is bipartisan bipartisan consensus, despite a lack of evidence to that effect, that Putin was behind all of it personally. Protracted vilification of Putin would make a visit to Congress to deliver a speech a difficult matter at any rate. Explicitly saying he is not invited to do so, however, is clearly intended to be a blow to diplomacy. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap and Amazon, at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. UPI reports New Jersey Attorney General Gerber Gruelle announced Tuesday that he has asked prosecutors to adjourn all cannabis cases in municipal courts until at least September 4th. In a letter to prosecutors, the Attorney General said he is asking for the adjournment so his office can develop appropriate guidance on how to handle cannabis cases as state lawmakers decide whether to allow for recreational use of cannabis. The request came after a meeting with Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop, who supports full legalization of marijuana. Fulop said this is a huge win for Jersey City, the state of New Jersey, and most importantly, the people who have been impacted by the creation of a criminal record due to a simple marijuana arrest. Gruelle's move unofficially decriminalizes marijuana for the time being, but New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy said on Monday that full legalization is a better avenue for the state. Murphy told reporters, "On the surface, decriminalization is intoxicating. You think it's a step in the right direction, but it actually leaves the business in the hands of the bad guys. Your kids are exposed, it's not regulated, it's not taxed, so I'll leave the specifics of that to the Attorney General, but that's a conceptual answer." Sharon LeChair, spokeswoman for the Attorney General's office, pointed out that the letter does not instruct police to stop making marijuana arrests. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports a federal judge on Tuesday said the U.S. government appeared on track to reunite by Thursday's deadline most of the families separated at the U.S.-Mexico border as part of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy towards undocumented immigration. The judge, however, put off deciding on a petition by civil rights groups to postpone deporting any of the parents for 7 days after they get their children back. A temporary order currently bars deportations of the families until the matter is resolved. U.S. District Judge Dana Sabraw, who last month gave federal immigration officials until July 26 to return 2,500 children to their parents, commended them on Tuesday for the remarkable achievement of having largely accomplished that task. As of Monday, at least 879 parents had been reunited with their children, according to a joint court filing by the federal government and the American Civil Liberties Union. Another 463 parents were no longer in the United States, but their children were still here, and it was unclear when those families would be reunited. The federal government cannot say whether those parents were deported or left voluntarily. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
The only nation where this regularly happens concludes that there's no way to prevent this. A college rape victim is pretty thrilled about recounting her assault to a faculty committee, and the nation's depressed individuals march on the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Onion Week in Review. Secretary of Veterans Affairs Eric Shinseki announced plans this week to improve healthcare for American veterans with a new $500 million state-of-the-art waiting room. The 150,000 square foot complex will reportedly feature a wide selection of magazines, 2 water coolers, and receptionists who will immediately give veterans vague answers about how long they can expect to sit there before receiving inadequate healthcare. And in this week's commentary, a local man finds owning a cat is a great way to meet women who magically appear in your living room. In other news, a new study finds employee morale drastically improves after watching a coworker throw a fit. A wise oracle proclaims to all at a barbecue that he felt a raindrop, and an elderly man is hailed as alert.
This is the Onion News Network.
The Call to Freedom is an opinion show. It's meant for informational purposes only. It is not licensed financial advice. It is very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you hear from the Call of Freedom and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. I mean, come on, guys. Duh. It's a cryptocurrency investment and a political talk radio. Of course, it's opinions.
Hodl. Hodl.
You better hold on for dear life, because it's time for the Crypto Hour, brought to you by motionproject.org here on the Call to Freedom.
That's right. It's time for the Crypto Hour, brought to you by the Motion Project at motionproject.org. And, well, we are here to discuss some of the biggest crypto news today. Now, I think it's kind of funny because somebody actually asked this in the chat room the other day. They were like, you know what? What stops people on Augur from creating like assassination contracts, like murder for hire contracts? And sure enough, literally the very next day, CoinDesk article from David Floyd headline: the first Augur assassination markets have arrived. Not 24 hours later. No joke. Oh, my God. Oh, goodness. Quote, killed, not die of natural causes or accidents. Pretty much everyone saw them coming, but it was no less disturbing when assassination markets actually began to appear on Augur, a decentralized protocol for betting on the outcomes of real-world events that launched 2 weeks ago on Ethereum. The market, which allows users to bet on the fates of prominent politicians, entrepreneurs, and celebrities, in some cases explicitly specifying assassination, as the quote above shows, CoinDesk is intentionally not providing links to these markets or naming the individuals concerned. In addition to targeting individuals, some markets offer bets on whether mass shootings and terrorist attacks with certain minimum numbers of casualties will occur. Augur was God, America is...
What did they expect?
The world has become so disgusting. Augur was created by the Forecast Foundation, funded through an ICO in 2015. It's an uncensorable platform where users can create prediction markets based on the outcome of any verifiable event, from World Cup games to elections to cryptocurrency prices to the weather. Augur became one of the most popular applications on Ethereum shortly after its launch. At the time of the writing of this article, it's got nearly 1.5 million staked over 600 markets. According to Predictions Global, a site that displays data on Augur markets and has censored the assassination markets, since Augur consists of small contracts on Ethereum, a blockchain network that is not controlled by any single party, users from around the world can place bets on prediction markets without government being able to stop them. This quality appeals to gamblers in jurisdictions where sports betting isn't actually allowed. And it could also appeal to people who want to incentivize or simply purchase the assassination of a public figure. By creating a market for assassination and placing a large no bet, actually selling shares in the outcome, an individual or group could in effect place a bounty on the targeted person. The would-be assassin could then place a bet on yes, buy shares, and manipulate the outcome, to put it delicately. Long before the first...
that's always a problem with betting, though, whether we're talking about assassinations or sports bets or anything else. What's stopping the Patriots from betting huge on the other team and then throwing the game?
Right. Long before the first assassination markets appeared, users on the Augur community forums frequently discussed their eventual creation, as well as potential responses by the community and the authorities. One response would be for Augur's, quote, reporters, the users designated by market creators to determine the outcome of the event being wagered on, to step in and quash the markets. The Augur reporter community has a powerful tool in their ability to mark a market as invalid, said Predictions Global co-founder Ryan Berkmans. Well, hell, there you go. Problem solved.
Centralize it. Yeah, that'll fix it. I mean, we're just going to have, we don't need to get rid of it. We just have to accept that, these dark aspects of humanity exist and will always exist. And as long as you have people betting on things,
wait.
the first things they're going to bet on is going to be assassinations.
Holders of Augur's reputation or rep token could dispute that decision to call these markets invalid. Berkman's continued, in other words, they could insist that the markets be settled. Users bet in and are paid out in Ether, not rep tokens. But ultimately, he added, reporters are, quote, incentivized to report in a way which they expect the rep holding community will agree. In other words, it's up to token holders' consensus to decide whether taking out life insurance on other people is accepted on Augur. That opens the possibility that Augur could fork into two platforms. One, call it Augur Dark, that tolerates assassination markets, and one that doesn't. The white paper describes the procedure for forking when rep holders cannot agree on how to report an event. Judging by Reddit commentary, the consensus appears to be that incentivizing murder is 100% immoral. Then again, one user wrote, I think you're overestimating the number of people who would seriously put money down to see another person killed unless said person really did something nasty and wasn't going to be brought to justice otherwise. I'm just going to Trump.
Yeah. He's absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Trump. He's probably already on the Augur blockchain.
I mean, it sounds like Augur should have paid attention to something that game developers know, which is that, gamers will always do something you didn't anticipate. And that they will do the craziest crap that no one ever could have thought of. And that's true in every market. You give people a betting token, and they're going to bet on things that you never
thought they would.
Ever thought
that they shouldn't.
And that they shouldn't,
People and
I mean, you will have people betting on whether or not a 14-year-old girl who was raped is going to abort the baby or carry it to term. You're going to have that. Make peace with it now. It's going to happen.
Yeah, just because it's disgusting and immoral has never been a reason for people not to do something.
No. And you're going to have bets on how many people died from opiate overdoses this year.
Oh, yeah.
And all kinds of crap like that. It's just going to happen. This is what you created, Augur. I wish you had understood the implications of that when you started it.
Oh yeah, there'll be a death pool betting system for every president from here until Augur either doesn't exist or there are not any presidents anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the Republicans will will bet on it when it's a Democrat, and Democrats will bet on it when it's a Republican.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm serious. You've probably got millions of dollars bet on Trump by left-leaning crypto folks all over the world.
Yeah.
Because they hate Trump.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
And when Trump's not in office anymore, whatever Democrat wins, there are going to be millions of dollars bet on their demise as well. Why? Because people suck and do gross and disgusting things like bet that they wished someone would die. Another potential route to shutting down the death markets appeared to have closed. Augur's developers announced Monday night that they'd given up on ownership over the escape hatch function, which would allow a designated party to simply shut the system down. God.
I mean, that sounds like it was a good idea in theory, but probably not in practice for Augur. Yeah. Unless they're okay with this sort of thing existing. And I mean, I am. I don't want to stop it. I wouldn't participate in it. But I mean, I'm not going to attempt to say, hey, you know what? I think this is morally wrong. You shouldn't be doing. I would say, you know what? That's probably not a good thing for you to be doing. But hey, you want to bet on whether or not Trump is going to be assassinated? Go right ahead.
Says, if the Forecast Foundation is compromised by a state agency, then the system can't be turned off. In other words, governments may not be able to threaten Augur's creators with prosecution in order to alter or shut down the platform, but they could prosecute them anyway.
I mean, it didn't stop them from prosecuting Ross Ulbricht.
Exactly. All right, well, we'll be back with the rest of the Crypto Hour here on the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM in just a moment.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
The warning signs.
At first, he made me feel special. He promised he'd look after me, provide for my future. He broke every promise he made.
Millions of Americans afflicted.
I was ready to leave, but he told me he'd change. So I gave him another chance. I was such a fool.
The consequences.
Things only got worse. He started making my decisions for me, about my job, my kids' education, my money, my safety, my future. He took away my choices, but I kept going back to the same politicians.
The diagnosis? Battered voter syndrome.
I fell for the same old lies. They were just playing with my emotions, telling me what I wanted to hear. That's not right.
If you're tired of the two-party system but want to support a principled Libertarian Party, check out the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire at lpnh.org. That's lpnh.org.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
You're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
تستمتعون إلى برنامج نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
Welcome back here to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. Broadcasting live from the Zencash studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. It is another beautiful day in the Shire. It is our Crypto Hour brought to you by the Motion Project at motionproject.org. And, my YouTube is just not cooperating with me at all today.
It's always good.
It is.
Technology, man.
It's always good for me, at least. All right. Anyway, so we've started our Crypto Hour, and there you go. If you hear it right there, that is the sound of our Motion faucet. It is sponsored by Motion Project at motionproject.org. Give us a call, 603-283-6160. Get your hands on 10 free coins, 10 free Motion Project coins, valued today at, I don't know, $5, $8, something like that. Everything's going up, so.
Yes, it is. It's very nice. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. No, shut up. About $4.30. So call us and get free money. 603-283-6160. So, all right. So the assassination markets on Augur, of course, we knew that was coming. So much so, like I said, we had somebody ask in the chat room just the other day, like, how do they keep that from happening?
They don't.
They don't. They don't keep that. Well,
it's just that no one had done it yet.
There are ways that they can keep that from happening, but now, like they're saying, this is going to be in the next. I'm telling you, this is the next Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah.
They're going to go after the developer for the actions of somebody, but like it's supposedly like it was developed in a way like it can't be shut down. Once it's started, you can't turn it off.
There's going to be some assassination bet on some nobody or some low level celebrity, and everybody's going to vote no on it, and then they're going to place this huge yes vote, and then they're going to go assassinate that person in order to make that money. And it's back to being, the Patriots intentionally throwing the game at things like that, people making these huge bets and then intentionally making the results that they bet on come to pass so that they win. So it's just a matter of finding the right odds for them. Find someone who's extremely unlikely to actually be assassinated so that they can find the, 10 to 1 odds or 50 to 1 odds or whatever is going to pay out enough for them to make money and pay for the costs of the assassination. And I don't see any reason we shouldn't expect that to happen. And as soon as it does, as you pointed out, the developers of Augur are going to be arrested for this ill-conceived, terrible idea that anyone could have told them was going to end up with this, and they're going to be thrown in prison for 2 life sentences for not actually doing anything but creating some platform that other people used, perhaps against the law. And
well, yeah, what I think is hilarious is somehow they're going to be able to infer that this developer, the guy who created Augur, either knew or intended for this to work in this way, and that's how they're going to prosecute him. And I got $100. I'm going to bet it on Augur that they're able to convince a jury of that.
Oh, without a doubt, they were able to convince Ross Ulbricht, and he didn't. He never killed anybody. In fact, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that all of the charges of murder for hire that were leveled against him have since been thrown out. So he may actually see some form of not being in prison for the rest of his life. I don't know what implications that would have or to what extent it was going to affect his sentence, if it's even true. But I mean, what we have here is effectively murder for hire, whether the Augur developers meant for it to be or not. And I think that's going to really blow up in their faces. I mean, because it's essentially what Ross is alleged to have done, except he has a website that did it, and they have a voting platform that does it.
So we are, we're joined on the line by a lucky winner. We've got Phoenix. He is calling to us from the occupied state of Illinois, and he is listening currently on Discord. How you doing today, Phoenix?
Not too bad, not too bad. Even better now that I got some free crypto.
Very good, very good. So who gives you a chance every day to win free coins?
That would be the Call to Freedom.
Very good. Thanks for being a part of it, and we'll get those coins out to you sometime the next day or so. You have a good night. So, again, we are here in the middle of our crypto hour. That's another winner, a winner from our Motion Faucet, brought to you by Motion Project. Put your ideas into motion over at motionproject.org. And don't forget to be a winner. Just go while you're there, download the Windows, Linux, or Mac version of the wallet. Sync the wallet. It's auto syncing. You don't need to go in and like add the new nodes and all. It's all automatic. You know, some wallets you put in and it's like, oh my god. I have a gold pressed Latinum wallet. That's right. I'm a nerd like that. On my other laptop, and the only reason that I wasn't worried about the fact that laptop was taken as far as the gold pressed Latinum's concerned is because I never put it on the laptop because I only was able to get the wallet synced once in the 4 months that I had it. So, you know, and Motion Project, it's boom, done. Yeah. So, all right. So I got some really cool, a really cool story here about the possibility of crypto and its growth over the course of the next little while. This says Uber and E-Trade are now vetting the idea of launching a no-fee crypto exchange. A new cryptocurrency exchange that's set to launch with no-fee trading, and it's got notable backers behind it. Voyager, according to a report from Fortune, is founded by the co-founder of Uber, Oscar Salazar, as well as one of the ride-hailing app's early investors, Philip Aton. Voyager's CEO is Stephen Elric, of the former CEO and founder of the retail brokerage Lightspeed Financial, who also previously ran the professional trading arm for the online stockbroker E-Trade before it was bought by Lightspeed. So, big backers for this possible idea. We're going to continue on with the story and inform you about the idea itself when we get back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
When they come to take you down, when they bring that wagon round.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it
just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. आप सुन रहे हैं स्वतंत्रता की पुकार सिर्फ और सिर्फ LRN.FM पे।
All right, welcome back here to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are broadcasting live from the Zencash studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. And, it is the crypto hour, right smack dab in the middle of it. Brought to you by the Motion Project at motionproject.org. And we're talking about this story here, joined in the studio today by Ariana Mezzo, the Queen of Crypto herself from cryptocurrencycheck.org, and now a video game reviewer and writer again over at the Eagle
Times.
The Eagle Times. Now, this story here, again, Uber and E-Trade are discussing a no-fee crypto exchange. Says the focus on no-fee trading is a notable one, putting Voyager in the same class as trading app Robinhood, that is, seeking to upend the market status quo by stripping away some of the costs associated with trading cryptocurrencies. To start, Voyager plans to list 15 cryptocurrencies, drawn from the list of the 25 best-performing networks, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and others. Ehrlich told Fortune that Voyager is, quote, leaning towards including such cryptocurrency as Ripple, Stellar, and which are not listed by major U.S. exchanges so far. Right?
That should be your cue to avoid them.
If you see it being traded today by some of the most prominent players, you will definitely have those plus some. Beta testing of the platform begins this week, and the company told Fortune that the traders will be able to download the exchange's app by the end of October. Voyager also intends to add support for crypto news and analysis, as well as additional tools for the institutional investor segment.
Okay, so if they're not going to charge fees, how do they intend to make money off of this?
According to Voyager, the exchange is in the process of securing licenses in U.S. states. We don't think crypto has been adopted yet by the masses in the U.S., Ehrlich was quoted as saying. Well, duh.
We know it hasn't.
And no, there's nothing here that says how they get paid.
Well, that's alarming.
Yeah. They get paid in magic government money.
More than likely.
Right? I'm looking at it going...
I mean, I don't think there's any number of ads that they can run in a mobile app to make up for not having any transaction fees or any buyer's fees. Because the transaction fees are always going to exist. Because, I mean, that's how miners make their money. So they can't really get rid of those. But they can get rid of the fee that exchanges charge to purchase crypto.
Well, we also have this is pretty funny. The CEO of Russian e-payments firm Kiwi said on Wednesday that an employee used its payment terminals to mine 500,000 bitcoins in 2011.
Holy crap.
CEO Sergei Solonin told the story while speaking to students at the Moscow Advanced Communications School in Solonin, whose company has thrown its weight behind the Russian government's work with blockchain and launched its own blockchain subsidiary in March of last year. He said the experience was what first introduced him to the concept, according to a transcript published on the website Rusbase. Solonin said that he discovered that one of his developers had hijacked the company's hardware to mine Bitcoin when the machines were not in use. Moreover, he found that the developer had made roughly $5 million over the course of a few months, a great deal more than the company had seen in profits from the machines. He explained, I thought, what crazy stuff. We're struggling to earn 3 cents on those terminals, and such a gold mine is already hidden here. The developer quit the firm after being asked to turn over the profit from using company property.
I bet he did.
While he told his remaining employees to continue mining, the network difficulty had become too great for Kiwi's hardware to handle. Kiwi refused to disclose the name of the developer to the Russian newspaper Vedomostoy, which confirmed the story with the press office. As Solonin told the website The Bell, his understanding is that the employee in question went on to lose all their coins at a now failed cryptocurrency exchange. Bitcoin.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He told the company that to keep them from bringing legal action against him. He still has them.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. Or he sold them and cashed out. One of the two. I would say it's extremely unlikely that he put 500,000 bitcoins on a single exchange and didn't raise any red flags.
Right, and there wasn't like an immediate, like the whole entire world. Yeah.
I mean, even if he did it in 2011, that's a significant amount of money and a significant amount of Bitcoin being moved. Maybe he did. But I don't think the kind of person who was mining in 2011 would have been stupid enough as far as cryptocurrency goes to dump all of his Bitcoin on an exchange. I would hope,
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got another interesting story. I don't really want to get into it because it's a pretty sizable story here. It's not that it's physically big, it's that the story itself is...
Oh, what is it?
Well, U.S. lawmakers want FinCEN mandate to explicitly cover cryptos.
What is the FinCEN mandate?
The FinCEN mandate. Know your customer, KYC laws. You can't... basically, it would make exchanges illegal. Because you have to know who you're trading your coins with. Or who you're trading the coins for money with. Anything that deals with cash and crypto will be required to be like registered with the government. For you to buy some crypto you will have to go through government-approved exchanges.
How does the government have the authority to do that?
They don't yet. They're trying to write a law so that they do.
I mean, how do they have the authority to give themselves that authority?
Idiots that live in this country think that they do. And would violently revolt if you tried to take it away
fair enough,
from them.
but it sounds like something that would be challenged in the Supreme Court and that could actually be won.
I don't know. I would hope. That doesn't mean anything, hope in one hand and...
I mean, do they require it for stocks? I think
they do.
So. Well, I used Acorns and it purchased stocks for me, and I never had to.
Yeah, but they're licensed through the federal government.
Yeah, but they still don't do the KYC. Not to the extent that a crypto exchange will. But then again, no one is buying, MDMA on Silk Road with shares of Exxon.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet.
It's not a bad idea though.
If you could find a way to to transfer them easily.
Yeah.
To just click a button and transfer ownership. Yeah, that could totally that's a totally feasible thing. I could see that happening. I could completely see that happening. So anyway, when we get back here on the Call to Freedom, we're going to continue on. We're going to talk about this story where, lawmakers are pushing for FinCEN regulations to specifically apply to cryptos, as current law, evidently, they do not. So we'll be back with the rest of the Crypto Hour here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM in just a moment.
If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes were played on the harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music?
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Catch the Call to Freedom at its new time, weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. The Call to Freedom is the only live drive-home call-in show in the U.S. with a segment devoted to cryptocurrencies. Crypto Hour, brought to you by Helium.com, live from Vertcoin Studios in New Hampshire. Learn about what makes cryptocurrencies so great and why you should care about them. Updates on new coins and ICOs, and warnings of scams. Plus, hear from traders, whales, developers, and big names in the crypto world. You can also win crypto coins or tokens every episode. Just listen for the faucet sound and be the 5th caller to get free Dash, Litecoin, Vertcoin, Verge, or other cryptocurrencies. The Call to Freedom with Will and Aria, featuring Crypto Hour. Broadcast internationally through our BitPlus network satellite. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m. on LRN FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.fm. Unasikiliza wito wa uhuru katika LRN.fm.
Hey everybody, my name is Carlos Matos and I am coming from New York City, New York. Let me tell you guys that I am so excited, I am so happy, I am really so thrilled to be right now sharing this amazing, glorious, super and exciting moment of my life with all of you guys. And let me tell you that we are really changing the world as we know it. The world is not anymore the way it used to be. No, no, no.
All right, welcome back into the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. Broadcasting live from our Zencash studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. And yeah, that's right, BitConnect, probably one of the number one reasons for the next story that we're going to get into. One of the biggest scams ever pulled off in the crypto market. And yeah,
Mt. Gox.
Well, yeah, Mt. Gox was pretty big. Mt. Gox was pretty big. But I'm talking about like just straight, I mean, like they did Tony
it even
Robbins.
sounded like a scam.
For real, they did Tony Robbins style, like convention, feel good type thing. And still, people were like, please take my money. I'm not smart enough to know better than to throw my money at dumb people. Oh, this is a scam. Yes, it is a scam. And probably one of the reasons for the next story that we're going to be covering, U.S. lawmakers want the FinCEN mandate to explicitly cover cryptocurrencies. A new congressional bill would update the mandate to Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, to include a specific focus on cryptocurrencies. The FinCEN Improvement Act, or House Resolution 6411, filed jointly by U.S. Congressman Ed Perlmutter, a Democrat from Colorado, and Steve Pierce, a Republican from New Mexico. What was that I said about bipartisanship in Congress? On July 18th, it directs FinCEN to look into how cryptocurrencies might be used in terrorism. Oh, the scary
I would really
word.
like to know what definition of cryptocurrency they're using.
Right. Or other illegal activities. In addition to working with tribal law enforcement agencies and other terror financing schemes. Specifically, it includes language reflecting matters involving emerging technologies or value that substitute for currency and similar effort. It states, quote, although the use and trading of virtual currencies are legal practices, some terrorists and criminals, including international criminal organizations,
like the U.S. government
and the Russian government, seek to exploit vulnerabilities in the global financial system and are increasingly using emergent payment methods such as virtual currencies to move illicit funds.
Is there a vulnerability being exploited even 1% as much as the U.S. dollar being the world's reserve currency?
I was just about to ask, was there as much hubbub over them shipping like shipments of money inside the body cavities of dead soldiers? You know, like.
Or how about when we defaulted in 1971?
Were there acts of Congress that were like, nobody shall be... Oh, wait, that was something that we should have already been doing, not defiling the bodies of dead soldiers to smuggle money for CIA drug operations. So, I mean, I'm speechless at the fact that the government is just like, oh my God, this digital money can be used to do the same stuff regular money can be used for. At least with Bitcoin, there is a distributed public ledger. You know who sent the money to who.
And it would be more trouble than it's worth to hide Bitcoin inside of a corpse.
For real?
Maybe a corpse of a phone.
Yeah.
Or a corpse of a computer. That would be economically feasible.
Yeah.
And sensible and not an insane thing to do.
For real. I mean, you know about the heroin trade after Vietnam, where when they caught them, they were literally smuggling heroin and money inside the body cavities of dead soldiers. So
I did not know that, but I can't be
if you
surprised.
can do, and they didn't know who was on the receiving or who was on the sending end. With Bitcoin, you have two addresses. One's the sender, one's the receiver. You know who sent and you know where it went.
Yeah,
it's simple as that. How are you tracking the money that's being sent like this? I mean...
Well, they're finding out where the dead body went.
Well, FinCEN, which operates under the U.S. Treasury Department, is set to, quote, safeguard this financial system from illicit use and combat money laundering and promote national security through the collection, analysis, and dissemination of financial intelligence and strategic use of financial authorities. Pierce said in a news release that the new directives would, quote, ensure FinCEN's ability to continue their vitally important mission in the dynamic world environment. The proposed bill comes years after FinCEN first published guidance for money transmitters working with cryptocurrencies. Firms in the U.S. that undertake such activities are required to register with FinCEN, and more recently, the agency said that exchanges which handle tokens sold during ICOs must also comply with those regulations. This is an important step in modernizing FinCEN and ensuring our law enforcement and intelligent communities can and do detect and prevent criminals and terrorist networks from using virtual currencies to move illicit funds or carry out cyber warfare.
I mean, even if all of that crap is true, and it's not, but even if it was, 9/11 was financed with cash. Cryptocurrency didn't even exist then. So the worst terrorist attack in the history of the United States was financed with cash, not cryptocurrencies. Any terrorist act that has been financed with cryptocurrencies, in addition to A, not happening, and B, still not happening, is going to be dwarfed by the sheer magnitude of what's been purchased with cash. Cold,
absolutely.
hard cash.
What's the T-shirt say? It says, "My Bitcoin's never been used for drugs, but your money is probably literally covered in it."
Yeah,
you know, that's serious. Like people. Perfectly innocent individuals pulled over on the side of the road, driving to go buy property, driving to go buy antique cars, pulled over, dogs sniffed their money, woof, woof. Boom. Innocent man, tens of thousands of dollars stolen by the government.
Because it doesn't even have to be that. You just have too much cash on you, and they will take it. Hey, you shouldn't have. You're over your allotment of how much cash you can carry in this free country.
That reminds me. Did you hear the story about Davi Barker's Bitcoin in the airport in 2013?
I didn't.
Okay, Davi. You remember last year at the Porcupine Freedom Festival? Davi Barker was there, and he was selling the lapel pins, the little anarchist flags, and the Bitcoin. Right. Okay, he had big Ziploc bags full of those lapel pins, and one of them was still in his carry-on luggage when he went through the TSA. And they wanted to know how much Bitcoin he was carrying with him, and that they needed to count all of his Bitcoin, and they needed to see the Bitcoin he had with him.
And he said, "I don't have any."
He's like, "What are you even talking about?" It's like, "What do you mean you need to see my Bitcoin?" And they pulled the bag of pins, of lapel pins, out of the bag, and they're like, You've got all this Bitcoin with you.
Oh my goodness.
We need to know how much this is worth.
They thought lapel pins
with Bitcoin bees on them were Bitcoins. Oh, it was hilarious.
It's worth $5,000. Go ahead and buy a Bitcoin from me.
For real, yeah. This was back, I think Coin was selling it like, this is like 2013. So, like around 200, 300. It was before that first spike to 700.
Right.
It was the great Bitcoin scam year too, because he did like, I want to say he did like $11,000 in business. It was the biggest pork fest ever. And he did like $11,000 in business, and somehow he got it stolen. Someone hacked his wallet, and this was back when like blockchain wallets on your phone was all you could find. There were no this was before the tech boom in crypto. So I mean, yeah, and it's not an apocryphal story. It totally happened on the way home from the Porcupine Freedom Festival. He got robbed, and the TSA thought that his bag full of lapel pins were literal Bitcoins.
I might have thought something similar right at the beginning of Bitcoin, because they did in fact make the Bitcoin coins and
the Cassius coins. Yeah, I remember those.
But I don't think there's any universe in which I would have confused a lapel pin for a currency.
Yeah, and you've seen the pins, right? The round, the Bitcoin changed the world, free the market, free the world, or whatever, with the Bitcoin logo on it.
I mean, I guess good on the TSA for recognizing the Bitcoin logo.
Right, in 2013.
Yeah.
All right, well, when we get back here, we've got a guest you guys have all been waiting for. We've got Zechariah Wright in the studio with us, sitting right over here at the end of the table. One of the authors of Jihad of the Pen, a discussion of West African Sufism and poetry and literature. So we'll be back with him in just a moment here when we start the third hour of the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. So don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Did you know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
More of the Call to Freedom is coming up next, live after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. Silver is trading at $15.61 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,232 per ounce. Zencash is trading at $29, and the average price of Bitcoin is $8,217. Antiwar.com reports U.S. media coverage suggests hostility towards diplomatic engagement with Russia as a matter of course. A new Harris X poll, however, suggests that this is not the view of the majority of the American public, with 54% approving of President Trump inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House for a second summit. The first summit, held earlier this month in Helsinki, Finland, was seemingly successful despite it being followed by negative media coverage and attacks from lawmakers in both parties. Trump followed this by inviting Putin for a second summit, this time in the United States. American public support for such a summit does not extend to Congress, however. On Tuesday, congressional leadership announced that if Putin does come to the White House, he will not be invited to address Congress or visit the Capitol building. House Speaker Paul Ryan says addressing Congress is something we reserve for allies. Ryan added he was only okay with Trump and Putin meeting so long as the message is stop violating our sovereignty. Congress focuses heavily on allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, and there is bipartisan consensus, despite a lack of evidence to that effect, that Putin was behind all of it personally. Protracted vilification of Putin would make a visit to Congress to deliver a speech a difficult matter at any rate. Explicitly saying he is not invited to do so, however, is clearly intended to be a blow to diplomacy. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap and Amazon, at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. UPI reports New Jersey Attorney General Gerber Gruelle announced Tuesday that he has asked prosecutors to adjourn all cannabis cases in municipal courts until at least September 4th. In a letter to prosecutors, the Attorney General said he is asking for the adjournment so his office can develop appropriate guidance on how to handle cannabis cases as state lawmakers decide whether to allow for recreational use of cannabis. The request came after a meeting with Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop, who supports full legalization of marijuana. Fulop said this is a huge win for Jersey City, the state of New Jersey, and most importantly, the people who have been impacted by the creation of a criminal record due to a simple marijuana arrest. Gruelle's move unofficially decriminalizes marijuana for the time being, but New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy said on Monday that full legalization is a better avenue for the state. Murphy told reporters, on the surface, decriminalization is intoxicating. You think it's a step in the right direction, but it actually leaves the business in the hands of the bad guys. Your kids are exposed, it's not regulated, it's not taxed, so I'll leave the specifics of that to the Attorney General, but that's a conceptual answer. Sharon LeChair, spokeswoman for the Attorney General's office, pointed out that the letter does not instruct police to stop making marijuana arrests. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports a federal judge on Tuesday said the U.S. government appeared on track to reunite by Thursday's deadline most of the families separated at the U.S.-Mexico border as part of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy towards undocumented immigration. The judge, however, put off deciding on a petition by civil rights groups to postpone deporting any of the parents for 7 days after they get their children back. A temporary order currently bars deportations of the families until the matter is resolved. U.S. District Judge Dana Sabraw, who last month gave federal immigration officials until July 26 to return 2,500 children to their parents, commended them on Tuesday for the remarkable achievement of having largely accomplished that task. As of Monday, at least 879 parents had been reunited with their children, according to a joint court filing by the federal government and the American Civil Liberties Union. Another 463 parents were no longer in the United States, but their children were still here, and it was unclear when those families would be reunited. The federal government could not say whether those parents were deported or left voluntarily. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
After the USDA unveiled its updated roommate food pyramid earlier this week, Department of Agriculture spokesman Michael Lowry spoke to Onion reporters about just how many servings of someone else's food roommates should be consuming on a day-to-day basis.
Under the new guidelines, roommates should eat at least 4 portions of someone else's grains per day including 1 to 2 cups of already opened cereal. Of course, this is all in addition to the 8 to 16 swigs of milk and orange juice spaced out over a few days.
Lowry emphasized that many aspects of the new roommate food pyramid are unchanged from the previous version, including a recommended daily intake of 24 ounces of lunch meat straight from the bag and 5 to 7 weekly finger scoops of Erica's peanut butter.
Remember to limit your intake of sugar and sweets from half-open containers, especially if they're Jessica's, because she'll definitely notice.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom live on LRN.FM. تستمعون إلى نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
All right, it's time for the third hour of the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We're broadcasting live from the Zencast studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. And it's another beautiful day here in the Shire. So, we spoke earlier on Monday and we said, we want to change the format of the show back to what it was when we first started all those years and years ago before we came to prime time and thought, you know what, we'll just try to do the same thing that everybody else does. And for some reason, my brain was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. We'll just do the opposite of what made us popular, and that'll make us more popular because I'm stupid on Tuesdays sometimes. So basically... So we decided to refocus the show back to the kind of stuff that we were doing before. We used to bring in Osama Saleh on a regular basis. We've had big names like Yasser Qadhi. We've had Imam Zaid Shakir. We've had, Yahya Ederer. We went out of our way to try to bring in scholarly voices. We brought in authors of books on the end times. We brought in authors of books about criticizing Islam. We had debates on the air. We did this kind of stuff before, and then we went, to the regular full-time, 5-day a week, and we lost our way. Well, we're back on the path, hopefully, and I was looking last night after I noticed in the chat room there's a big discussion of Sufism going on, and I was like, you know what? I've got a few books on Sufism at home. Let's go. I'll find some good books that have recently come out, and we'll bring some authors on, and we'll have some of these discussions. And I'm looking, and I find this book. And the book is called Jihad of the Pen, discussing West African Sufism in literature and poetry. And I was like, So I start looking for the authors on Twitter, no luck. And it just so turns out that I'm having lunch the next day with what I did not realize was one of the authors of the book. His name is Zakaria Wright. He has a master's in Arabic studies from Northwestern American University, and a bachelor's in history from the American University in Cairo. Oh, no. Your degree is in history from Northwestern. A master's in history from Northwestern. Here, you do it. You know how qualified you are.
Happy to be here. I'm here as sort of an academic scholar. My PhD in history from Northwestern University out in Chicago. My MA in Arabic studies from American University in Cairo. And my BA in history from Stanford University.
Very cool, very cool. So the book, Jihad of the Pen, tell us about it.
Well, we were both, all three of us that were writing this book together have, are academic scholars in the field of Islamic intellectual history, West Africa, myself also West and North Africa. But we wanted to put out a book that spoke to the kind of the richness of the literature in the region in a way that gave some, made these texts approachable. We were always saw how well read Rumi was in America with the English translations, etc. So we wanted to put out a book that allowed people from out they didn't know too much about the tradition to access these texts and to sort of understand their great vibrancy and aestheticism that may be involved, similar to Rumi. These are Black West African scholars that were writing hundreds of years ago in some cases. We wanted to make those traditions approachable to people, and so it's not just strict translation. We do have some significant introduction and conclusion, and also situation of the text. So we can't really escape the sort of academic framing that we ourselves can't escape, but we do hope that these texts are approachable for a wider audience.
Very cool.
All right, so you cover a number of different academic minds, and I guess the best way to describe them is poets, because most of their work is written in a very Arabic prose fashion. I mean, that's what makes it so, in the Muslim community at least, because that's so highly prized.
Right.
The Arabic language itself, and the ability to use, speak, and do so in a poetic fashion.
Right. And so, none of these people grew up in Arabic-speaking environments per se. They all had local languages, what we call Ajami, African languages that were written in the Arabic text. But they're writing these really profound interjections into a global intellectual, Islamic intellectual tradition that's spanning into India, all in Arabic. And so that's something that not a lot of people are aware of, that they're writing. So I'll give you an example. El-Hajj Umar Futi is one of the poets that we translated. He'll take a poem from Andalusia, Spain in the 12th century. He'll break it. He'll take 2 verses of the poem and he'll write 3 more that rhyme with the first 2 and are in the same rhythm but continue the theme. So his takhmis, that we're calling it, or his kind of like commentary on the original poem, is actually more difficult to write than the original poem. But here's a Black West African scholar who does not trained in, he's not an Arab per se, but he's writing in ways that Arabs need help to understand, and the rhythm, وَالسُّورَ جَمِيعِ مَاسِكِينَ بِحَبْلِيَا تَحَقَّقُوا مَنْ لَمْ يُكَذِّبْ بِرَبِّيَا. These were poems, this is one of the lines of Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse, who died in 1975 in Senegal. He's writing, he's making these claims. Whoever hangs to my rope will arrive in the divine presence, But you can hear the rhythm in the Arabic language. These poems are continuously recited on the streets of Senegal and elsewhere in the West African Islamic world today. And there's a performative aspect that goes with this literature as well. So we did want to kind of bring that up in the book as well. Obviously, we can't transmit all of that through a translation, but it's still, we're recognizing that these are living texts.
Yeah. Who would really you consider the father of this West African tradition? Really, kind of. Who was the original star that just like, wow.
Yeah. That's a good question. Most of West African scholarship is rightly or wrongly associated with Timbuktu.
Yeah.
And of course, Timbuktu was a great center of scholarship, but it's really more representative of a larger trend that didn't necessarily have to be urbanized, of these itinerant clerical communities. And so that, there is no one real star. I think but Mohammed Kabara is a big name, and he, he kind of gave he was the foundation for the teaching lineages that came and proliferated out of Timbuktu. But these teaching lineages go all the way back like 1,000 years. So I think the most famous contemporary scholar in West Africa today, Sheikh Tijani Sisi, his family goes all the way back to the Sisi family, the foundation of the Kingdom of Ghana. So 1,000 years before. Yeah,
it's like that's like Arabs in Syria. I'm an Al-Atassi. My family can go back to wow. All right, so we are joined today by Zachariah Wright, one of 3, right? Mm-hmm. 3 authors of Jihad and the Pen, discussion of West African Sufism, poetry, and literature. We'll be back with more with him in just a moment here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. If you want to get involved in the conversation, give us a call, 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. We'll be back with more of the Call to Freedom after this.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power, but there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Angel Clark, and you're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
right, welcome back here to the Call of Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are broadcasting live from our Zencash studio here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire. And we're joined in the studio today by, well, I guess it's Dr., right? Dr. Zechariah Wright, one of the authors of Jihad and the Pen. Are there any, there's another book that you're involved in?
I've written a couple of books, yeah. I've written a book called Living Knowledge in West African Islam.
Now, I have to ask, why West African Islam? Like, what gave you the inclination to focus there? Because one thing that seems kind of odd is it's West African, but I'm not hearing Fez. I'm not hearing Casablanca. It's like Morocco doesn't exist in this version of West Africa.
Right.
So why West African? As like a person who enjoys like Sufi type scholars and stuff, I can understand West Africa because of like Fez and Casablanca and Morocco and the strong Sufi traditions that are there. I'd never heard before of a Sufi tradition in West Africa outside of that. So what drew you to study that?
Right. Well, the public expression of Sufism in terms of the Sufi orders, the tariqa in West Africa, is actually kind of a late phenomenon, so back to the 19th century. But they're actually drawing upon practices that are much, much earlier in West Africa. And I think what is drawing many people, both academics and practitioners, to West African Islam is the fact that their traditions have not been broken. They're not munqata, right? They are the Sanad tradition, the idea of person-to-person knowledge transmission that's so important for many traditional religious communities. In the case of Islam, going all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, is still there. And in case you weren't aware of the modern history of the rest of the Muslim world, these places have been broken. That classical scholarship has been broken, and those scholars that are speaking from the pulpit today, in many places in the Middle East, for example, are not the representatives of that classical tradition. And you get a scholar and a mufti of Saudi Arabia today, for example, maybe sort of laughed out of the room 300 years ago, right? So the class, the text, the curriculum, the things that people are studying, the kind of emphasis on tolerance and cultivation of independence from the government, those are things that are still there in West Africa that are not really practiced as much. And that has a lot to do with a lot of different factors, including the dismantlement of these awqaf, these traditional institutions that house these scholars. But in West Africa, the clerical independence was not dependent upon these madrasa systems, right? They had their own farmlands, they had their own communities. And so when colonialism happened, it wasn't so easy for the colonialism in the subsequent modernizing state to sort of look around and say, well, where are the threats to our authority? Well, those scholars, we got to get rid of them because all the people are following them around. In the Middle East, they could just destroy those institutions, take over, right? And the scholars were done for. I mean, and you create an alternative intelligentsia, you staff your government bureaucracies, etc. In West Africa, wasn't the case, right? They couldn't. There was nothing that the government couldn't go to war with the clerical establishment to take over their farmlands because they were good. They were going to go to war with, and they had done previously, and that's why we are drawn upon this word jihad, because there is a tradition of jihad in West Africa, and they fought.
Oh yeah, Abdul Qadir al-Jazri.
Yeah. Jazairi,
Jazairi,
right. Yeah, the Emir Abdul Qadir in Algeria.
In Algeria,
right. So he had a lot of peers, including many of the authors. El Hajj Umar Fouti, Usman Dan Fodio. They set up states as big as Western Europe in West Africa. Some of them are still existing to this day. And they went to war over social injustice, right? And they were Sufis. And they said, look, a mankind or a Muslim believer can live a long time in a place with no faith, because many of them they had interchanges with non-Muslims, etc. But he can't last long in a place of no justice. And so they went to war to establish just societies. And the turn to the pen was saying, well, look, this is not really working out the way we wanted to. We're also being faced with machine guns, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to think out alternative solutions. So the jihad of the pen was a way to kind of think about how to promote Muslim identities in this new world of modern societies. Yeah, but the long story short is that these Muslim scholarly communities are still very, very vibrant in West Africa. And I don't care whether you call them Sufis, whether you call them Malikis, or whatever you want to call them, they are representing, in some ways, the classical tradition is alive in West Africa, is not alive elsewhere in the Muslim world. I mean, I'm just simplifying the issue, but yeah.
Does Morocco count as when we talk, or would that be considered north?
Yes and no. Yeah, Morocco has cultivated these traditional ideologies or doctrines and practices. But Morocco has a very complicated. I mean, the monarchy is a complicated entity, and in some way has been at the forefront of promoting this traditionalism, right? Holding conferences on anti-terrorism and that kind of a thing. But there has been a way in which French colonialism did intervene in that society and sort of tamper with the ways in which particularly Islamic learning was articulated. And that's why you find, like, even though the king is trying to make sure that the Salafi movement, for example, or the pro-Wahhabi people in Morocco are not really getting a platform, you find it sort of underground. As a response to the interjections of colonialism.
Yeah, I have to say, for me, two of the most influential voices that are like contemporary people that live and breathe today would have to be Sheikh Hassan Lesheb, who is Moroccan, and then Sheikh Ibrahim, who is from Senegal, and both of them Maliki, both of them heavy. You could see. I've come to say, and this has just become from my own personal experience, that in the modern day, all it takes to be a Sufi is to be Muslim and think that being Muslim isn't a license to be hateful and nasty and basically generally not a very nice person to everybody else. And that if you have that understanding of Islam, is that being Muslim doesn't give you a license to treat people who don't think the same way you do as crap, or to look down and talk down to them, then people will just automatically call you a Sufi. Just be like, oh, he's Sufi. Because of the fact that you simply have some level of adab and good manners with people who aren't Muslim. Anyway, when we get back here on the Call to Freedom, we'll have more with Dr. Zachariah Wright and our discussion of this is one thing we're going to go a little more general discussion of Sufism when we get back here on the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Did you know we've taken our LRN.FM telephone listen line to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line? Now you can call 712-770-8447 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed. And you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 712-770-8447 and choose from the menu. 712-770-8447. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
You're listening to The Call to Freedom on LRN.FM.
تستمتعون إلى برنامج نداء للحرية مباشرة على LRN.FM.
مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل.
All right, welcome back into the Call to Freedom. That was totally not the one that I thought I was playing. I played the wrong one. Anyway, we're back here with Dr. Zakaria Wright, one of the authors of West African Sufism, Jihad in the Pen.
Jihad of the Pen, the Sufi literature of West Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. I keep saying it backwards. Anyway, and we were talking about, Morocco, Senegal, Algeria, how this traditionalism is still kind of alive and living even today in West Africa, where it's been stamped out all over the world, really. There was a picture that I saw once of West African Muslims standing in prayer with their hands crossed. And underneath of it was a heading, "This is the influence of Salafism." And that was an example of how deeply it had permeated globally, that now you had West African Muslims who didn't pray Sadl.
Mm-hmm. That's actually incorrect. One of the authors of our volume, Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse, who's the Sheikh al-Islam of West Africa from Senegal, he argued for Qabd from within the Maliki school, which is one of the 4 schools of Islamic law. And I think that's something also we need to be careful of in the Western world. We have a tendency to fetishize everything, as you know.
Yeah.
So we have also a tendency to sort of solidify the Maliki school or a Sufi school into a particular doctrine and not represent its historical dynamism, right? That these people were thinking about all sorts of things and could come up with alternative opinions from within themselves and think about things outside of themselves that they were coming up against. And also, I want to be clear not to overstate the case. I want to make sure there are very incredible scholars all around the Muslim world. What I mean in terms of the street level in West Africa, that the majority of people are still very much honoring these traditional scholars. Whereas I think the kind of general Islamic practice in most of the Muslim world, I live in Qatar right now and other places that I visited, Egypt, etc. There's a sort of nonchalance about religion and about the ulama, about the scholars that I don't really see in West Africa. Yeah.
No,
they're the rock stars in West Africa.
Right.
The scholars are the rock stars. Yeah.
So I wonder, as a white convert myself, who was immediately kind of really encouraged by the indigenous Muslims, so to speak, the immigrant community, to study Maliki school. Like, they openly encouraged, like, you should do this. This would fit best for you. This is what you should study. And that led me into learning about other scholars, and for some reason it ended up leading me, of course, it led me to Africa, which also led me to an appreciation for Sufism. I see that path happening for a lot of other convert Muslims. You see Hamza Yusuf found all he was looking for in Mauritania. And you have like my own Sheikh Hassan Lesheb teaches tons of converts in Tennessee. You had oh Lord, who else was it? There was somebody else. Abdul Hakim Murad. You have him embracing a very Sufi understanding, teaching a very Sufi understanding. Is it something about Western culture? Is it something about Western converts in general, particularly white converts I'm seeing, that the Maliki school and Sufism in general seem to speak, at least in the current, dynamic, seems to speak to them?
Well, let me address the second question first, because you brought up this idea about Sufi tolerance, etc. As you know, the only people to lead jihad against colonial occupation in the 19th century were Sufis. So this whole idea that Sufis are somehow nicer than, we know that it has a political agenda.
Yes.
At the same time, this in all Sufi teachings, there's a deep reflection on the nature of the ruh, of the human spirit, and what is the human condition itself. So Sufism often talks about itself in terms of tahqiq al-insaniya, like a human actualization, which is specifically recognized as something, there is a common human condition that we all have, and it pertains to non-believers and believers. And so Sheikh Ahmad Tijani will say very clearly, for example, as a Moroccan sheikh from the 18th century, that all of the creation is within God's love, right? Even the non-believers, right?
Yes.
And so there's this conception that kind of allows you to think about a human universality, particularly within spiritual actualization. I think is helps us to understand many people that did convert to Islam, for example. How is it that they can still deal with their parents and etc. In terms of the Maliki school. I don't know your listeners' background. Of course, there's 4 schools of Islamic law. The Maliki madhab or school is the one that comes out of Medina Munawwara, the city of the Prophet. And there's a emphasis, methodologically speaking, on understanding the culture of that particular place, and then by extension recognizing that culture, as long as it's a good culture, is formative to Islamic law, right? And as long as it doesn't specifically go against Islamic law, like we're saying, okay, like we're not killing it. If the culture doesn't say, sacrifice virgins, etc., and throw them into the Nile River, as they used to do in Egypt, then we can work with that culture, right? So the Maliki school then is looks beyond the text per se, whereas Imam Malik will say, if I find a hadith or tradition of the Prophet that contradicts with what the people of Medina are doing, I will take what the people are doing, and maybe I'll investigate the tradition further, the actual text. So there's a look beyond textuality, and I think many of us that have seen overly textualized traditions, they use the text as a weapon, right?
Yes.
To make themselves feel better than other people. And I think that's what the Maliki school, for those people that have studied it, that's what they find sort of refreshing about the Maliki school. But of course, it's not to be a Maliki triumphalist either, right?
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
are certain things within the Shafi'i school and the other schools that are useful.
Yeah. Some of it was oddly enough, the Arabic teacher at the mosque where I took my Shahada was Shafi'i. He had studied Shafi'i in Jordan. And he was like, I think you should study Maliki.
Interesting.
It was like, why don't you want me to study Shafi'i? I just think Maliki would fit your personality better. And I was like,
well, I would just say, this idea, the Prophet says something, he said, ikhtilaf ummati rahmah, right?
No.
Difference of opinion in my community is a mercy, which you actually find put into practice with the different schools of law. I would just say from,
we discussed the concept of mutual orthodoxy on the show more than once.
Yeah, that's fascinating, right? That's fascinating.
The only religion that does that.
Yeah.
As far as I know, is the only religion that does that has this concept of mutual orthodoxy without major conflict between the schools. Because even in Christianity, you see big arguments over whether or not the other is even a valid form. Like I grew up in a Pentecostal household with Baptist family members, and they each told me that the other one were heretics and going to hell. So, but they still had similar understandings of God and understandings of Christianity, but simple differences that for Maliki and Shafi'i would be no issue. But within the Christian tradition, it creates heresy. All right. Well, we've had a great time having you with us tonight, Dr. Wright. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you on next time you have a book, or we'd love to add you to the roster of just Muslim voices that we bring on from.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Nesquik. Try Nesquik 4-packs, perfect for lunches and great for kids on the go. Look for it in the juice aisle. Snack time is a great chance to sneak extra calcium into your child's diet without making him feel like he's eating something he doesn't want. Serve up dairy-rich foods like smoothies, flavored milk, frozen yogurt, and string cheese. He'll love the treat, and you'll love knowing how good it is for him. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
A new report from the National Center for Education shows that an alarming 10% of U.S. high school students graduate without basic object permanence skills. According to the study, a growing number of American seniors are lagging behind their international counterparts when it comes to the crucial knowledge that things don't just disappear if you're not looking at them.
Because it exists even if your eyes can't see it. Am I making sense?
No. U.S. high schoolers have dropped to 17th in science, 25th in math, and a troubling 180th place in the basic cognitive awareness most humans develop as toddlers. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan is asking Congress to fund increased after-school disguise and reveal programs.
It's time to get the kids excited to learn the most obvious mental concepts that make us capable of functioning.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do better. It's just I don't know how I'm supposed to learn anything if I don't even have a teacher.
I'm still here, Vanessa.
Some educators worry that too much focus placed on object permanence might take away from other important skills, such as not touching hot things that could burn you.
This is the Onion News Network.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. What do you shop for that you could otherwise buy at Amazon? Pretty much everything, right? Amazon has competitive pricing and they deliver, and that's a big plus. If you could plan ahead in your shopping, would you be interested in saving up to 33%? There's a catch. You have to do your shopping in Bitcoin. But imagine those savings. It's like a huge raise. All you have to do is go to saveitpurse.com. We've saved thousands, and you can too. Plan ahead and save. SaveAtPurse.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
You are listening to the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. आप सुन रहे हैं स्वतंत्रता की पुकार सिर्फ और सिर्फ LRN.FM पे.
Let's focus our discussion first on marijuana, okay? Marijuana has a very distinct smell, okay? I'm going to pass around just a little tiny bit, and I want you all to take a smell so you know when someone is smoking marijuana near you.
All right, welcome back into the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. So, yeah, great interview. We've got more of that kind of stuff coming up where I've got a guy we're talking to that specializes in divorce. He's a secular guy, though. He's not a religious guy. Aria, you got some folks that you're looking into to possibly getting on here. We're going to have scholars, academics, philosophers,
I wanted Mitch Stokes so bad, but it turns out that he got his YouTube channel deleted, so I don't know how to get in touch with him now. He's a philosopher and an absolute moron.
It would have been funny then. Anyway, we've got a story here. This is from the New York Times. The VA shuns medical marijuana, leaving vets to improvise. In Santa Cruz, California, some of the local growers along the coast here see it as an act of medical compassion, donating part of their crop of high-potency medical marijuana to ailing veterans who line up by the dozens each month in the echoing auditorium of the city's old Veterans Hall to get a ticket that they can exchange for a free bag. One Vietnam veteran in the line said he was using marijuana-infused oil to treat pancreatic cancer. Another said that smoking cannabis eased the pain from his recent hip replacement better than the opioid pills did. And several said that a few puffs tempered the anxiety and nightmares of post-traumatic stress disorder. I never touched the stuff when I was in Vietnam, said William Horn, 76, a retired firefighter. It was
they were doing heroin and coke in Vietnam.
It was only a few years ago that I realized how useful that it could be. The monthly giveaway bags often contain marijuana lotions, pills, candies, hemp oils, as well as potent strains of smokable flowers with names like Combat Cookie and Kosher Kush. But the veterans do not get any medical guidance on which product might help with which ailment, or how much to use, or how marijuana might interact with their other medications. Ordinarily, their first stop for advice like that would be the Department of Veterans Affairs health system, with its thousands of doctors, hundreds of hospitals, and clinics across the country dedicated to caring for veterans. But the department's largely said no to medical marijuana, citing, you guessed it, federal laws. won't recommend cannabis products for patients, and for the most part, it's declined to even study their potential benefits. That puts the department out of step with basically most of the country, where at least 30 states now have laws that allow the use of medical marijuana in some form. A department survey suggests that nearly 1 million veterans may be using medical marijuana anyway.
Are you suggesting that government-regulated healthcare obeys government regulations? And that socialized healthcare does the same and might be a bad idea because of that?
Right? But doctors in the veterans' health system say the department's lack of research has left them without much good advice to give veterans. We have a disconnect in care, said Marcel Bond Miller, a psychologist who worked for years at the Veterans Hospital in Palo Alto, California, and now teaches at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School. The VA has funded lots of marijuana studies, but not of therapeutic potential. All the work has been related to problems of use. Mr. Bond Miller said that in 2016, he wanted to study the health outcomes of veterans who were getting cannabis from the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance, but did not seek funding from Veterans Affairs because of the department's lack of interest in therapeutic use. Congress is now considering changing that. A bipartisan bill, introduced in the House of Representatives this spring, would order the department to study the safety and efficacy of marijuana for treatment of chronic pain and PTSD. If the bill passes, the department could not only develop expertise about a drug that many veterans have already turned to on their own, it may also start down the road toward eventually allowing its doctors and clinics to prescribe cannabis as well. I talk to so many vets who claim that they get benefits, but we need research, says Representative Tim Waltz, a Democrat from Minnesota, who introduced the bill along with Phil Rowe, a Republican from Tennessee, who, by the way, is a physician. You may be a big advocate of medical marijuana, and you may feel it has no value, Mr. Waltz said, but either way, you should want the evidence to prove it. There's no better system to do that research than the VA. Okay. A spokesman for the Department of Veterans Affairs said Congress would need to do more than simply pass the current House bill. The spokesman, Kurt Kaschauer, said that because cannabis is classified as a Schedule I drug under federal law, research would need to secure approval from 5 separate agencies to conduct studies.
But, I mean, don't we already have studies? Why does CVFW need its own special studies?
Because those studies were done in other countries by non-VA doctors. You got to pay the VA for their VA studies.
That's what I meant, VA, not VFW.
Yeah, you need to. The VA has to do its own studies because those get paid for, and who pays for those? You,
well, not me.
All the listeners. The department does have 2 small studies in their early stages. One in San Diego looks at whether cannabidiol, a non-intoxicating component of cannabis, can help patients during PTSD therapy. It's scheduled to continue through 2023. The other, planned for South Carolina, would examine the palliative effects of cannabis on hospice patients. In a system as big as ours, that's not much. Certainly not enough, said Dr. David Shulkin, who was President Trump's first Secretary of Veterans Affairs before being fired in March. I guess he had too positive of a position on medical marijuana for Jeff Sessions to him keep his job. During his tenure as secretary, Dr. Shulkin eased some rules, allowing the department's doctors to start talking to veterans about medical marijuana, but many veterans faulted him for not going further. Dr. Shulkin said that the tangle of red tape surrounding Schedule I studies should no longer be an excuse not to conduct them. We have an opioid crisis, a mental health crisis, and we have limited options with how to address them. So we should be looking at everything possible, he said. The push for more research and for access to medical marijuana in the veterans' health system is not just coming from liberal areas of California. The generally conservative American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, both favor expanded research, and some of the most vocal advocates are products of the nation's strict military academies. Cannabis is the safe, responsible choice, says Nick Etten, an Annapolis graduate and former Navy SEAL who now runs an advocacy group called the Veteran Cannabis Project. It helps the big three with the big three that we struggle with after combat: pain, sleep, and anxiety. And it's safer than any of the medications. Veterans are not waiting for a green light from Washington. A department survey found in 2017, 9% of veterans are already reporting that they're using cannabis. And almost half of those were doing it for medical purposes. And that means, because many people are worried and afraid they'll lose their benefits if they admit yes to that question, that means that number has got to be much, much higher.
Yeah. It's a shame that the freedoms these veterans allegedly fought for do not include the right to treat their pain and their anxiety and their PTSD and the symptoms, the other horrific consequences that they face because of said service.
Well, isn't that kind of the rule?
Way.
That's been the rule since World War I. You take them over there, you break them physically, mentally, you send them home, and then you complain about having to pay for them, if you pay for them at all. I mean, you've got what, like 30% of the homeless are veterans? In a country that is constantly jumping up and down about how you got to kneel for the flag and, oh my God, support the troop. What about when they get home? What about, I mean, like, we can yell about and cheer them on while they murder brown children overseas, but like when those men come back from killing babies, you can see it in their eyes. Yeah. I have friends that came back from there who, my buddy Ralphie he's 15 now. He's in his 30s, but he's 15. He mentally regressed back to a place before he did those things. They broke him.
Yeah.
And they told him if he treated his issue with cannabis himself, they would take away his benefits. That's the freedom these guys are fighting for. None at all. None at all. All right, guys. So tomorrow we've got, I don't know, do we have a guest tomorrow? Oh, that's right. They canceled, didn't they?
They were today.
Sissies! Cowards! Anyway, so we'll be back tomorrow with more discussions, more, we might have a book to talk about. Who knows what we're going to be talking about? All I know is Free Talk Live's coming up next.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love,
and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way.
Love as your guide.
And liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live, brought to you by Freekeen.com. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. Silver is trading at $15.61 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,232 per ounce. Zencash is trading at $29, and the average price of Bitcoin is $8,217. Antiwar.com reports U.S. media coverage suggests hostility towards diplomatic engagement with Russia as a matter of course. A new Harris X poll, however, suggests that this is not the view of the majority of the American public, with 54% approving of President Trump inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House for a second summit. The first summit, held earlier this month in Helsinki, Finland, was seemingly successful despite it being followed by negative media coverage and attacks from lawmakers in both parties. Trump followed this by inviting Putin for a second summit, this time in the United States. American public support for such a summit does not extend to Congress, however. On Tuesday, congressional leadership announced that if Putin does come to the White House, he will not be invited to address Congress or visit the Capitol building. House Speaker Paul Ryan says addressing Congress is something we reserve for allies. Ryan added he was only okay with Trump and Putin meeting so long as the message is stop violating our sovereignty. Congress focuses heavily on allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, and there is bipartisan consensus, despite a lack of evidence to that effect, that Putin was behind all of it personally. Protracted vilification of Putin would make a visit to Congress to deliver a speech a difficult matter at any rate. Explicitly saying he is not invited to do so, however, is clearly intended to be a blow to diplomacy.
You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap and Amazon, at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com.
UPI reports New Jersey Attorney General Gerber Gruelle announced Tuesday that he has asked prosecutors to adjourn all cannabis cases in municipal courts until at least September 4th. In a letter to prosecutors, the Attorney General said he is asking for the adjournment so his office can develop appropriate guidance on how to handle cannabis cases as state lawmakers decide whether to allow for recreational use of cannabis. The request came after a meeting with Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop, who supports full legalization of marijuana. Fulop said this is a huge win for Jersey City, the state of New Jersey, and most importantly, the people who have been impacted by the creation of a criminal record due to a simple marijuana arrest. Gruelle's move unofficially decriminalizes marijuana for the time being, but New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy said on Monday that full legalization is a better avenue for the state. Murphy told reporters, on the surface, decriminalization is intoxicating. You think it's a step in the right direction, but it actually leaves the business in the hands of the bad guys. Your kids are exposed, it's not regulated, it's not taxed, so I'll leave the specifics of that to the Attorney General, but that's a conceptual answer. Sharon LeChair, spokeswoman for the Attorney General's office, pointed out that the letter does not instruct police to stop making marijuana arrests.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.
Reuters reports a federal judge on Tuesday said the U.S. government appeared on track to reunite by Thursday's deadline most of the families separated at the U.S.-Mexico border as part of the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy towards undocumented immigration. The judge, however, put off deciding on a petition by civil rights groups to postpone deporting any of the parents for 7 days after they get their children back. A temporary order currently bars deportations of the families until the matter is resolved. U.S. District Judge Dana Sabraw, who last month gave federal immigration officials until July 26 to return 2,500 children to their parents, commended them on Tuesday for the remarkable achievement of having largely accomplished that task. As of Monday, at least 879 parents had been reunited with their children, according to a joint court filing by the federal government and the American Civil Liberties Union. Another 463 parents were no longer in the United States, but their children were still here, and it was unclear when those families would be reunited. The federal government could not say whether those parents were deported or left voluntarily. This has been FPP Radio News. Online at fppradio.com.
Mere days before his upcoming relocation to Denver, Colorado, 4-year Chicago resident Paul Marston admitted today that he wished he had taken a little more time to truly loathe the city he has lived in for nearly half a decade.
You know, I've been here for a couple years, but now that I'm finally leaving, I realize I never really got to hate this place.
Marsden confirmed that in the time he's lived in the city, he never quite managed to explore his own shitty neighborhood, adding that he regrets never getting to know the stuck-up workers at the cafe down the block, never visiting the overpriced bodega on his corner, and never becoming violently ill from the food at the crappy Mexican place across the street from him.
You know, I lived right next to that bar for 4 years, and I just wish I took more time to abhor the disgusting smell that hits you every time you walk by. I'd always heard this place blows. Guess it's a shame I never got to hate it like I should.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Dial in, toll free, take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever you want. Our number here, 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is lrn.fm, so feel free to reach out to us that way if you like. And the us includes me, Ian.
And Conan.
And Daryl.
So, Daryl, you've got some breaking news, or at least breaking for me. I had not heard about this. Ross Ulbricht, for listeners who are unfamiliar, he is the founder of the Silk Road, the creator of the world's first, most noteworthy, most notorious underground darknet trading site. Basically an eBay.
Online market.
Yeah, almost like an eBay for drugs, basically. Now, there were other categories of items that they had on the Silk Road, but...
there were books, e-books.
Yeah, that's true. There were a few things. There were some hacking tools, apparently, and other questionable items, but they also had drugs, a lot of drugs, and that, of course, led to a heavy federal investigation that ultimately did unearth the creator of the site, Ross Ulbricht. They arrested him in 2013, in October, while he was actually in San Francisco, where he was living. They caught him at the library on a laptop.
Yes.
And he was logged into the site at the time. During the trial, they actually... he admitted to creating the site, which I thought was a crazy kind of defense tactic, but that's what they did. They admitted in their opening statements that Ross was the creator of the Silk Road, so we're not speculating on that. But they said that he didn't actually run the site the entire time.
Correct.
That at one point it was handed off.
They were also, and by they I mean the defense, were prevented from telling the jury that someone had logged into the site as Dread Pirate Roberts after Ross Ulbricht had been arrested. They were also prevented from informing the jury that at least one federal agent was under investigation for corruption in part of that investigation. Yep. I say at least one because the defense was only informed of one. Turned out that there were two that have actually been convicted, and there might be more corrupt federal agents that were actually involved.
Exactly. And there was so much corruption. They, of course, didn't let specific evidence into the case that they should have let in.
Correct.
They didn't let what you mentioned in there. And then the judge in the sentencing used allegations, unproven allegations.
Yes.
Not even charged allegations. They
Correct.
Never
it's
did
what's
anything.
called an unfiled charge. Meaning
it's not anything.
Government agent just said a thing.
Right.
They wrote something in some kind of officially unofficial court document thing, but it was never actually a filed charge.
Sounds like what half
and
of
it was
what
murder.
Yeah, sounds like what half of what we hear in the news and everything we base our wars on and our climate gate on and whatnot is on some official said, some higher up official just kind of mentioned.
Yeah. So story here for
so the allegation
reason.
is that he hired somebody to commit murder.
That was
the
a claim, and that's part of the justification used by Judge Catherine Forrest, who allegedly rapes baby penguins. I have no proof, but I've heard it. But she used this allegation to justify the double life sentence plus 40 years for Ross Ulbricht. story from Reason says, having reported on Ross Ulbricht's prosecution since the beginning, the author says, I found a startlingly large number of people who did not follow the case closely, who believe his life sentence without parole for acts connected with launching the dark web site Silk Road was justified because he was convicted for attempting to pay to murder people.
Never even charged.
That's not true. Such charges were not part of the crimes he was actually convicted for, and the waters were muddied almost certainly with cold deliberation by the federal government because they had a separate indictment in Maryland hanging over him for the past nearly 5 years that did include those accusations. Last week, Robert Hur, U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, filed a motion to the federal court to have the indictment containing those charges dropped.
Wow.
So there was an indictment. Nobody ever took any action on the indictment, hence the unfiled charge. So basically, there was some kind of official paperwork that some government agent filled out, and they said, just like keep this in this on deck file in case we need to actually do anything. Oh yeah, we don't need it. Okay, 5 years later, let's go ahead and officially remove that. The article continues. Mr. Ulbricht's conviction and life sentence in the case handled by the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York have been affirmed by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, and the Supreme Court has declined to hear the case. Is